Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Vintown, the Vintown Mariners podcast, the number one Mariners podcast based out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Yeah, what a week. What a week it has been in Mariner land. Um, I don't want to do what every other podcast and video has done and just like complain about the team, complain about the ownership. It sucks. It's bad vibes, and that's one thing that I usually can't say about this team is that the vibes are bad. Usually the vibes are very good, but but they win, they lose, but the vibes are always good when they win. And the vibes are really bad right now. JP hurt, Julio hurt, uh, Ty France released. Just all these things are going wrong at the wrong time. They're losing close games. Somehow they're still tied for first, though, and that's all that really matters to me at this point. Um, there's things that I wish would change. There's a million things I wish would change, but like the past week is not. It's not going to run me off. It's not running me off. The Astros series, they lose 2 out of 3. One straight up loss. The other one involved like two 5-star catches on the Mariners. They're in it. It's closer. That's like a coin flip game. Could have went different. And then these first two games against the Angels, terrible. But like when when you don't have Julio, and you lose J.P. Crawford on like the first play of the game, practically, uh, that's not a good spot to be in. Especially when you just released Ty France and you didn't call up his replacement for some reason. Which that's, I guess, the crux of this episode. That's what I really want to talk about. Is like I've always been kind of defensive, not necessarily, but like believe in this front office. So few teams have a Julio, and then Bryce Miller, Brian Wu, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, like Cal Raleigh. That's 6 elite guys. I think. I think Cal is one of the top 5 maybe catchers in the league. Julio is still there with the potential to be one of the biggest stars in the game. And then Logan, George Kirby, where are they going to end up? I think they're in among the top 10 starters, let's say. But yeah, a lot of teams don't have that. So and then they have a great farm system right now. And I think that they do a lot right in that regard. But the more I thought about this Ty France thing, and the more I like dug into it, like I think this front office is washed, and I think I'm ready for them to be gone. I have never really felt that way. I've like kind of rolled my eyes in the past when people are saying you gotta fire Jerry, but like I was just like looking at the off season, and I think they're washed. I really think they're washed. One thing, the thing that kicked it off is Ty France. Ty France did not start on Sunday. He came in when Julio got hurt to play first base. He got one at bat, ground out, double play, whatever it was. And then after the game, he gets DFA'd. Okay. Put on waivers, whatever. He's put on waivers. They call up Vossler. And then Monday, they're facing Tyler Anderson, a lefty. And they put Dylan Moore at first. JP gets hurt. Luke really has to come in, a lefty. Lefty versus lefty. Luke really is a good player, but he's not good at hitting lefties. Most lefties aren't. So I was thinking like, oh, they have something coming. They had to do this Ty France thing right then because they have something coming. So I was going to record a podcast that night, and I didn't because I was like, something is coming. Something's coming. Why would they have done this when, if Ty France is done, he's done. But he's better against lefties. You could have started him in that game. And then if he has another bad game, he's done. But instead, you just put yourself in a situation where you don't have a good option. They called up Vossler, not Locklear. Vossler's a lefty, didn't even get into the game. So why did you have to do that move right then? Like, I really thought there was something going on, but they just did it. They just wanted it done by Tuesday, I guess. That was the reason they did it. It just really seemed like a lack of, I don't know, foresight, because maybe they could have used Vossler on Sunday If they were done with Ty France, he didn't start on Sunday, so you could have got rid of him on Saturday, and then get Vossler in there, whatever, something like that. And I don't want to get into Ty France. Like I always liked him. Seems like a cool guy. He was a good player for a few years, and then he just kind of plateaued. He does remind me of something I read in the MVP machine, which is like J.P. Crawford, or not J.P., a J.D. Martinez said, he says something like players who struggle work harder to make themselves better, and players who like do well, like just try to continue to do well, to stay the same. And I really put Ty in that second category. And this is like, the slow degradation of time, the more scouting report gets out on you. His stats always got just like a little bit worse, a little bit worse, a little bit worse. And now he's where he is now. He went to Driveline this offseason, and he showed results in May, but like it was too late. He should have went there 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, or a similar swing coach. I'm not gonna. I don't like to like judge players' bodies, but like I do think there's something to be said about being ripped, and he could have got ripped at some point, but he didn't. But he's not really the point. I think that's why it ended the way it did, though, is he just thought he could do that doubles machine kind of play forever, and just like the league figured him out, time wore him down, and now he is where he is, which it sucks. But hey, that's the game. He's going to get another shot. I think he'll be great in the National League, like an NL Central team, like the Pirates. I think he would be really good on for some reason. Lots of smaller ballparks. I just think he could do well there. Easier pitching in the National League for sure. But yeah, I just anyway. The point of this is I think the front office is washed. Not just because of that, because they did this and they didn't have a backup plan ready. They didn't have something set up where they're like, okay, we're going to do this, but then we're going to do this and this. Like that was why Jerry was such an exciting GM, because he was Trader Jerry. Even when he didn't have much, he did all his moves that was like, okay, I'm gonna do a 1-for-1 here, but it's gonna work out where we get like projection of half a win more. And it's like when he was working under those restraints, like a lot of those moves, broke even or didn't work out, but like it always kept the roster fresh, and it was always like people you wanted to see what maybe they could do. It worked out trading Tyler O'Neill for Marco Gonzalez. I think that worked. It worked out. I don't know, Sishik or whatever. Little moves like that don't really move the needle, but like it's all he could do because of his constraints. But he always had moves up his sleeve, and a lot of people are calling for like Jerry to get fired, the way he built his roster and everything. Why doesn't he make a move right now? But like, it takes two to trade. No position players except for Luis Arez has been traded. Could he have gotten involved in that? I don't know. Like maybe we don't know the story there. Did Preller call them first and say, "I'm going to give you like way too much for this," and yes or no? And for some reason they said yes. We don't know. But honestly, that should be like the Chris Paul trade in the NBA, like where the league like just put a stop to it. Like they could have got so much more for Luis Arez right now, but whatever. So this past offseason, there was clearly something that changed. A lot of it's made about the root sports thing, but at last year's competitive balance tax total payroll, according to Baseball Prospectus, COTS contracts, was $183 million. And this year it was 158. So there was definitely something that went down that said, hey, you got to cut this payroll. You don't have the money to spend that you think you do. There's a lot of contracts that came off the books, but they had to do moves to get to clear money. So they did the Marco trade, but they did the Suarez trade, they did the Robbie Ray trade. I'm not blaming Jerry Dipoto for that, but I really do think they showed a lack of creativity. And then when they cleared money, they didn't spend it right. And basically, I'm talking about Mitch Haniger and Mitch Garver. Mitch Garver signed for 2 years, $24 million. So he's making roughly $12 million this year. So is JD Martinez. Would you rather have JD Martinez? Of course. The same price, I would have him at $20 million, honestly. But maybe he didn't want to come to the American League. He hadn't been in the American League in a long time. He's had success in the National League. Maybe he likes even being in big markets. He was in LA, now he's in New York. So I'm not like, maybe they tried and maybe they didn't get him. Justin Turner, not like a missing out, but he also is he signed a 1 year, I think $13 million deal. Okay, so you're paying Mitch Garver for 2 years. Yeah, he's younger than those guys, but he was also a catcher, so like kind of evens out. Did he have to do that? Was it the best move that the Mariners could possibly do? And I don't even doubt the process because Mitch Garver had a really good year last year. He had 130 plus WRC plus. It was over 130. Like that's a really good hitter. Not an everyday guy, but like showed a lot of good skills in Texas, not in Seattle. And then the other big move is the Robbie Ray, Descalfani, all of that for Mitch Haniger. And now Mitch Haniger is getting paid, I think, $15 million this year, $50 million next year. There's no getting out of that. And people are like, why did they release Ty France and not Haniger? There's why. It cost them like another $3 million to get rid of Ty France. It would cost them another over 20 to get rid of Haniger right now. So that's why they don't do it. Haniger is now like locked into this like fifth outfielder. I don't care if he gets released or not now, because like if him and Robles just switch places, where he's the late inning pinch hitter if you need it, and Mitch starts like once a week or after a double switch or something like that, that's fine. It's not good use of your payroll, but it is what it is. Like if he's a good clubhouse guy, which they just got rid of a good clubhouse guy, then they don't have to get rid of Mitch Haniger because he's not gonna decide. Like if Mitch Haniger's out of the starting lineup, he's not going to decide whether you win or lose. He's not. Like, is it a bad use of resources? Yes, it is. But like, if he's not your everyday starter anymore, it doesn't matter. It really just does not matter. But then so they had to bring the payroll down roughly $25 million. I don't know if when ownership says there's going to be no restraints, if they're going to be allowed to get back to that number right now. That's something that only they know, and they'll never tell. But yeah, so let's look at the roster. Or let's look at the offseason again. Okay, so they had to clear $25 million. Well, Robbie Ray was due to make $23 million. If they weren't going to re-sign Teoscar Hernandez, so that was $14 million coming off. Robbie Ray, you're going to tell me they couldn't have gotten another trade with Robbie Ray? A team with some budget room that needed a starting pitcher? Look at the Dodgers right now. They're going with like all second half guys. They're like Kershaw is just debuting. I don't know if that was the move. Maybe the move was keeping Robbie Ray until he came back, and then you do it because you had so much money coming off the books last year. And then if you do the Suarez trade still, and then Marco Gonzalez, they could have just traded him without doing the whole Kelenic thing, but they also wanted to get rid of the Evan White deal, which it makes sense. But, if you just don't re-sign Teoscar, you let Marco go, trade Marco for something, maybe a outfielder type, still do the Suarez deal, save money there. You could still do the Caballero deal even, because I guarantee that was a trade that came to the Mariners because the Rays needed a shortstop. So you could have kept Kelenic, you could have added Rayleigh, got rid of all these guys, maybe not even done the Luis Urias deal, and then you're like down. You're negative like $20-30 million. You did it. You did what they said, and your core is not touched. You got lots of cheap guys, Rayleigh, Kelenic, etc. You don't have Garver. You don't have Haniger. And then you just build from there. Tyler O'Neill, I've seen some people mention him. He got traded for nothing. Like, absolutely nothing. And he makes $5 million. this year. Like, yeah, he's not. He didn't have the last. He had injury plagued the last 2 seasons, but there's a huge difference between $5 million and $24 million over 2 years, or $30 million over 2 years with Haniger. There's a huge difference, and that would be a move just like Haniger, where the fan base would be excited about it. Another guy I've mentioned him as a trade. I think the Mariners definitely should trade for him because now they need a shortstop with JP out 4 to 6 weeks. Ahmed Rosario. He signed for $1.5 million. He didn't have a great season last year, but $1.5 million is nothing, for one. And two, the year before that, he had a really great season. Another player I mentioned before, Michael Busch, from the Cubs. The Dodgers had him. The Dodgers signed Ohtani, and they needed a roster spot. And everyone in baseball knew that he was the guy they were going to move. They had to move. So the Cubs picked him up. They did the trade. But you're going to tell me that the Mariners couldn't beat that? The Mariners have one of the best farm systems in baseball. And I think they only traded like some 18-year-olds for Busch. And Busch has like a 130 WRC plus this season. Another guy that signed this offseason, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, 2 years, $15 million. Like, you look at his Fangraphs page and you know why they didn't sign him. You know, his career high is a 91 WRC plus. This year he's got a 117. But you know, he could have been that right side of third base instead of Urias, which everyone knew wouldn't work out. Everybody knew that. So, like, what did they do with their money that they cleared to do things? They signed 2 old guys named Mitch. That's what they did. And that's not creative, for one. It's not like what you say your team building goal is. Like, they've never had a full-time DH since Nelson Cruz because they say they want to keep that area fluid so they can play, rest guys there and whatever. When you sign Garver, you have no option. Like, you luckily got him to play backup catcher now, but now you're paying that money for a backup catcher and a part-time DH. So it's like not a good use of resources. And then Haniger, corner outfielder, yeah, like there's a reason to think he would bounce back. But it wasn't a guarantee, and you don't want it to be like your most expensive guy. So I really think the Mariners would have been so much better off, just bargain shopping. Tyler O'Neill is either 30 or still under 30. Same with Rosario. Michael Busch, same thing. Instead they're going guys north of 30 with, aging happens. It was like, it's seriously like bringing back but Bill Vivasi vibes. Because it's like, oh, you just need a veteran. You need a veteran that knows how to hit. And yet, they know how to hit. They do. They've had a great track record, but it's not there anymore. And, you can get into the reasons. There might be a million reasons why. But I just think they got away from their central, beliefs. Like, we want young, we want controllable, we want positional versatility, we want athleticism. And that's the exact opposite of what they did this year. They did not get any athleticism. They got worse defensively, with the chance that they might be better offensively, and they've got worse offensively. And it just reminds me, here's a dumb analogy. Okay, let's say Jim Carrey, like Dumb and Dumber, right? And everyone thinks that movie's funny, but it's just because Jim Carrey's pure psychotic energy, he brings so much energy to it that you're you can't help but laugh sometimes. Actually, I never watched that movie, but people like it. But then they make one 20 years later where it's they're back, Dumb and Dumber 2 with 1-0. No. And then it's just that energy is missing. Maybe there's written jokes that are as funny or funnier, but they don't have that energy. They don't have that boundless energy that pops off the screen anymore. They're just old rich guys now. And they don't need to do that, and they don't want to do that because they're not hungry anymore. And maybe that's just also just part of life and part of aging, But anyway, that's what the Mariners front office is right now. They used to be I'm here to show the world. I'm going to do this better than anyone's ever done it. I'm going to make moves that nobody ever thought you could do. And now it's just like, okay, we got it. We got it. Or we don't need to do that anymore. We figured it out. We've mastered drafting or whatever. We've mastered player development, which no, you haven't, you know. But the Mariners just want to be Jerry Dipoto and his front office. They want to be the Rays, and they're doing a shit job at being the Rays. The Rays wouldn't have done the Mitch Garver deal. Maybe on a 1-year deal, maybe see what he has, but they're not going to do that deal. Oh, and it's like, oh, we're the Rays, but we have more money. But you're not doing it. Where's your Brandon Lowe? Where's your Gandhi Diaz? You know, where's your platoon guys at first who make you have one of the best first base positions in baseball, like the Rays have done before? They're not there. You're not doing it. You're failing. But you know, Jerry and Justin and Scott Service, all of their contracts are up. They're not renewed for next season. And part of that is like, why don't they go for it now? And, you know, if you get rehired, you get rehired, but like you should put this team in a chance to win if that's what you're being judged on. But are you just being judged off profitability? Maybe. But yeah, what I wonder is, since they haven't been re-signed, they weren't re-signed when they were up 10 games, and that's when I was expecting them to get their contract extensions. But now that they've blown that, you know, every day I wonder if this is the day Scott Service gets fired. And then to take it one step further, maybe the reason they haven't done trades is, what if ownership is like, we like Harry Ford, we like Cole Emerson, we don't want you trading them. We don't want you including them in any trades. So maybe they're handcuffed that way. I don't know. It's definitely weird for them to be tied for first place and not be making a move, doing weird things with Ty France. But we have a week left. We have a week left until the trade deadline. You know, supposedly they're after Vlad Guerrero. Hey, if Vlad Guerrero gets traded, I'll be shocked. And if he gets traded to someone besides the Mariners, I'll be pissed. You know, you can, like when I was judging off-season moves, you can only judge players that were moved. You know, you can't be like, why didn't they get this guy? If he's a free agent, yeah, why didn't they get this guy? Oh, they didn't have enough money for it, whatever. And then trade, you know, teams put the word out, this guy's available, and then you find out he's available, and then you make your move. So I don't think it was a secret that Michael Busch was available. I don't think it was a secret that Tyler O'Neill was available. And they weren't in it. They weren't in on that. And sure, they had their reasons, but they could have rebuilt this team cheap in a way where you're not handcuffed this year and next year. You know, Mitch Haniger and Mitch Garver are going to make $27 million next year. That's a lot. That's a lot of money, especially for a team that likes to act like they're poor. So yeah, I just don't know if these are the guys. You know, you can find the lists everywhere. Every hitter they brought in over the past whatever years that has not worked out. And the list is long. The list is quite long. Maybe they just don't know how to identify hitters. Maybe they don't know how to identify active players. You know, like you play out of the park baseball and you have your scout and says, you know, excellent amateurs, excellent minors, average major leaguers. Maybe that's them. Because they're trying to do this like Rays thing, right? But they're just like basically signing people who had a big OPS last year. Not like who's going to have a big OPS this year. Like, I think the Zips projections on Tyler O'Neill for the season were high before the season, you know, before he had his breakout. Because it was just like a matter of health and playing time with him. You know, I think they could have got that deal done. If you look at the pitchers that the Cardinals brought in, I'm pretty sure Emerson Hancock's better than all of them. But maybe they don't want to move him. Maybe they just want to keep him, and they want to keep him in case they want to trade. In case they want to trade Miller. Oh, what if we trade Wu? What if we trade Logan next season? You know, these guys are going to get expensive. We're going to have to trade. Like, they always just thinking like 5 steps ahead and missing what's right in front of their face. And then when it comes time to actually do something to make your offense better for this season, they go with 2 guys in their 30s, a former catcher with miles on his body, A guy who just missed like all of last season and most of the season before that. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? I'm not the person who gets mad at this team for this stuff, but it's just like when you really look at it, what are we doing? That's my only question. What is the goal here? Because I don't think that there is one. I think it's just like, you know what the Mariners are? Okay, when I first read Moneyball and I first got into like advanced stats and sabermetrics and things like that, right? It would be like, who would the Mariners draft? Oh, a high school guy? That's a terrible idea. Everyone knows college players move through the system faster, blah blah blah. And it's just like I don't know anything about the players, but I knew that uh Moneyball says, "Oh, college players are a better bet." So then I just dismiss all high school players, dismiss all young people. What am I like? The Democratic Party dismissing the young voter? No, sorry, bad joke. Um, but that's how the Mariners operate. They operate in like the past, like this past idea of what a good team is. Like they're like 2 years behind. They're 2 years behind what the Rays were doing 2 years ago, what the Astros were doing 4 years ago. They're behind all of them, but they're doing it well. They're developing pitching really well, and they got cocky this offseason because they had developed so many relievers out of nothing. Like, we're gonna get them, we're gonna tell them to throw their good pitch more, and we're gonna make them throw their good pitch better, and it's just gonna work out forever. And it did work out. It worked out with a lot of guys, but it didn't work out this season. Didn't work out this season. Where's the guy? It's Stanek and Munoz and Santos. Hopefully, can be more regular. That's it. There's no young guy that they fixed that's like helping the team in a major way that they can then trade at the deadline. There's nothing like that. And when you have elite pitching, anything can happen. When you have elite pitching, anything can happen. The Mariners have elite pitching. So, no, you're not going to scare me off. You're not going to run me off. I find you so annoying. The ownership, the front office, all of you. You're also annoying to me. But I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt till the end of the season, until we're 10 games out, until we're under 500. Because what else are we going to do? What honestly, what else are we going to do? It's M's over everything. It really is. And that's what sucks, because they take advantage of that. They know people feel like that. They know they have a great park and exciting players. Players that people like. They know it. They know they have the coolest hats and some of the best uniforms in all of baseball. They know it. The owners know that. But the front office, what do they know? We'll find out. We'll find out in the next week. It's got to be something. This offense needs someone to carry it right now. Like, I don't think it's ever going to be an elite again, but it needs somebody to carry it. I would love if it was Mitch Haniger, but I don't think it is. I think they need to get somebody. And if Julio is on the IL, sorry, then it has to be somebody else. I think it's too much to ask of Cal to bet him third in the lineup and expect him to be that guy. It's not impossible, though. Anything's possible. And that's why I keep watching this crap. Because anything is possible. There's time. They can figure it out. And hopefully they do. Hopefully they get somebody. Hopefully one of these young guys hits. Hopefully something happens. One thing with the front office, and this will be the last thing I say about it. But, like, the way front offices turn over, like, do you think, like, that Jerry, like, let's say he had, like, these tight relationships before, but he's been in the job for so long where so many of these front offices changed, and it's like he's not a part of the club anymore. He's not one of the GM homies. He didn't go to an Ivy League college, so he's already an outsider, even though he likes to act like he's one of them. Because what would you rather be like, besides like the douchiest guys in the world? But maybe he just doesn't have those connections like he used to. Maybe that's why certain things haven't happened. I don't know. I only know what I can find out. And in this world of baseball, you can't find out much. So with that said, let's just win the World Series. That's all I got to say. I want to talk about announcing. I want to talk about something more fun next time. I think maybe I'll do that on the day off. But yeah, I want to talk about the announcers. And just some other random stuff. But until then, I'm Vintown. Go M's.